Hey, welcome to the Modern Dad Council. This is Chris Eishin. I got with us Eric Lehman from the Game Changer Movement and Tommy Maloney from Blending the Family. So, welcome, guys. We came here together today. We were just chatting a minute ago, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to record, so you guys better be ready. So I just hit it. So that's why we're kind of laughing a little bit right out the gate. But the reason I was sitting here in my office earlier and I was just kind of going through my to-do list for today, and I was like, man, I've got so much stuff going on. I'm so busy. Like, I don't know how I'm going to make this all work and fit it all in. And I thought about it for a second, and I had to, like, make a shift, right? So this is kind of part of my practice. I'm going to go into this. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. Wait a minute, why do I keep telling myself that I'm so busy? It's like, how could I rephrase that to myself that has more of a positive reaction from myself than like this overwhelming feeling? So I wanted to just try to find a way to shuffle around the context in which I was perceiving things. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then I made a choice, right, to view things a little bit differently. So, instead of this, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I said, no, I get to do this, and then I get to do this, and then I get to do this. And it was like, wow, I changed that one word, and it totally took me from, oh, shit, I've got all this stuff going on, to, hell yeah, like I'm gonna have a kick-ass day, man. Like, look at all this stuff I get to do today. I get to connect with people. I get to, and then it was just this just transformation from how I was feeling. Now, granted, I've been at practice at this for a long time. Like, this isn't something that like I just woke up one day, I'm going to start analyzing everything that I do and see if there's a way that I can, like, break it down in the J40 way, which is, I wish he was here because I like his systematic brain. But, so after all this practice, I find myself actively practicing this practice without thinking about it. It's starting to become like a habit that I just can't help but do when I come into these obstacles. Now, does that mean I'm not having breakdowns and that I'm not like falling into that funnel a little bit? Yeah, of course. I still get tripped up from time to time, but I definitely had this mentality of like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. And Eric, I know you and I have definitely talked about this quite a bit. And it's like, how do we change? When we change our perspective, everything changes. And so that's just what I experienced and what I was kind of going through this morning that kind of preempted this topic for today. And I thought, what perfect of a day to talk about it. So with that, I'll share it with you guys.
Well, I mean, I'll just dive in because literally I had the same exact process. Like once I saw your topic, and I just thought and felt into it, I realized that the single best thing that I've ever shifted in my whole entire life is shifting from the word have to get to. And so, like as it relates to like, I mean, the tangible part was, early in my separation with my ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife, depending on how you look at the legalese of things. I was really sad because some of the days that I got to spend with my kids, I was nothing more than a glorified taxi driver, because of all the kind of responsibilities and externalities that my kids were already committed to, including beautiful things like dance rehearsal and basketball and soccer and hockey and whatever, like and it if I didn't shift from have to get to, that's where resentment would have started building. Like, and I would have had a 5 year, residual of built up resentment of have to.
Mm.
And then something shifted, and I was just like, you know what? I get to take them to dance, and I get 25 solid minutes on the road with my kids. We're going to turn that into something awesome, So the things that were in the have to world, as soon as they got transformed into the get to world, became opportunities for connection. And so, like, we just developed a family song, a new family song, which was just Daddy and the three kids, and it went from like Don't Worry, Be Happy to like other different songs, and we would embellish the lyrics, and I would just, If I Had $1,000,000 was one of them, like all these different, family anthems started showing up in what was once have to get my kids to dance time, and so and I feel like it's a really perfect, I know that we're not necessarily wanting to like timestamp or date stamp our shows, but here we are 2 days before Thanksgiving, and there's this like kind of paradox, right? Because there's a whole bunch of quote unquote have tos, I have to make room for the turkey in the fridge. I have to thaw it out 2 days in advance in order to make it, ready to bake on Thursday, and there's a lot of, but like, even though I'm here in Alaska visiting a friend and spending Thanksgiving with her and her family, and there was like, we went shopping for the week, and there were things that I needed to eat. I had to eat in order to make room for the turkey. So like, but instead of like having to eat them, I got to eat them, and like I just, I made it fun rather than like, I am doing my diligence by eating these ribs. Like, they were freaking ribs. They're amazing, and so I just do feel like, shift is a word, and so I'm just in gratitude for having made that shift a while ago, and knowing that it's a constant process and a reminder. Am I 100% knowing that I get to live this life? No, I'm human. Like, I slip up, and sometimes I get the cold sweat of have to. But as soon as I switch it to get to, it's like boom, like, I can release. So I don't know, what's it for you, Tommy?
Well, you were talking about not time stamping a lot of these shows, and so I also want to make sure that we are grateful for. Um, we are talking Thanksgiving in a couple of days, so I am very grateful that on Thursday, not totally change the subject, but on Thursday we'll have all of our kids, and so that is something. The topic here is about busy lives. Well, busy lives for me this week is I have Connor, excuse me, this week, and he has hockey tournament. And so my busy life is trekking him down to his hockey practices, hockey games. But I love it because this is our quality time together. This is, those rare moments where I have him for a whole week. And so that's where my busy life is, focused on this week, is focused on him. And so I don't want to get my busy life, though, confused with being a Disneyland dad. And, there's still things that, for example, here we are in northern Colorado, and it's, again, 2 days before Thanksgiving, and what did he and I do yesterday? We mowed the yard.
Mm.
Seriously, we mowed the yard. We have no snow here. And so this was an opportunity for him as well. Yeah, we have you here for a week, but it doesn't mean that you're not here as well to help out and do chores and things like that. And so, again, yesterday we raked the leaves. He mowed the front yard. I mowed the backyard. But that's part of being, busy, is taking those opportunities to spend with your kids, and again, making sure that they stay busy as well. And so my biggest fear is that when I do have him, that I don't, get too involved sitting here in the home office and working on our business. I need to be working on my relationship with him at the same time. So, I'm again grateful that, this week is kind of our week together, and I get to root him on and root his team on this week for hockey. But again, to go back to the topic of, busy lives, we tend to maybe spend too much time being busy, but not present at the same time.
Right. So what I'm hearing or feeling from that is like the the ability to like actually connect with your kids, not just be like running them from here to there. Like what Eric was saying is that when you're trying to take them to practice, that travel time is time for that you can connect with your kids on a deeper level and sharing the song. And to what I was getting from you, Tommy, was like, and doing chores, like enroll your kids in helping you get things accomplished, right? Like if you go to the grocery store, make a game out of it, have it be, okay, you get these items, I'll get these items, or somehow, have fun with it, and you make that a moment to connect and bond and everything else, and at the same time you're getting help, like they're actually able to kind of step up and help you in a lot of different ways.
Well, we need. I mean, as parents, as dads, we need to, teach our kids life lessons, and it's about when you hear, for example, our kids say, "Oh, hey, can we have this?" Well, I don't have any cash on me. Oh, that's okay. You've got a credit card or you've got a debit card. Well, we need to teach them the power of money, the power of plastic. Um, and I think we tend to forget about teaching kids life lessons. My story when I was, coaching hockey, I always told the parents day one, I'm not here to teach your kids hockey. We're using hockey as a foundation, but we're going to teach your kids, how to be a good teammate, how to be role models, how to get along with kids that you're not going to necessarily get along. I mean, in the work world, we don't always get along with everybody. I mean, quite honestly, as parents, we're not always going to get along with other parents, but it's about the life lessons that we need to instill with our kids and teach our kids how to, get along with people even though you don't get along with them.
Right. How can you show up?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you feeling, Eric?
Well, I mean, I feel like there's so many different ways to to kind of dive into this topic, and I feel like what showed up was that like a few years ago I made this conscious decision that one of the ways that I was going to support my kids was I was going to show up to their recitals, but I was going to back away from their dance competitions because philosophically I didn't like who I was when they were in competition mode. Like it was the wrong energy for me, and it was a big deal to make the decision not to show up. And I mean, I guess what I'm saying with this topic of busyness is like, one of the ways to become less busy is to learn how to manage our time and energy commitments in a different way, and in a way that aligns with our values in so many different ways. So like so I guess that was just kind of coming through, and there was a time where I felt guilty about it, and there was also a time where I was sort of judgy for people who like lived vicariously through their kids, and so I mean, and now I feel like and I mean maybe like I'm emoting a bit because I've chosen to spend Thanksgiving away from my kids, and my friends over my lifetime have become my family. So like, it's a very interesting, introspective time. So on one hand, like, has the pendulum swung too far? um, and have I, I mean, my my new understanding of what great fatherhood could look like for me is to live fully into the dream, into the purpose that I was born into, and model that so that my kids know, what possibility is, and because they receive things at a different level, you know, they might receive it as like dad's so selfish, and into his mission and purpose, that he doesn't have time to go to my competitions or whatever. So like, it's just a very interesting dance, and so I think the idea of busyness and being present it's a constant inquiry, so I'm just, I was like, my energy was really, really high frequency, and then I started hearing about all of the together time like you guys were having with your families, and I was like, whoa, like what have I done? And I'm totally in purpose, and I'm exactly where I need to be, and there are trade-offs, and so like I think as my kids get older, I think the conversations will be a lot more enlightened about what those trade-offs were, about what those decisions were. But like there's so much of this, even in this get-to world, that you know, right now I'm celebrating that I get to spend Thanksgiving with my mission partner. But it also means that I get not to spend Thanksgiving with my biological kids, So it's just a very interesting time. So
I really hold on. I want to like go right there, because I think you hit on a really like a nerve right in there that I think a lot of guys struggle with, and so I kind of like to talk about that. Is that time that when we don't have our kids, like feeling guilty for doing something when you don't have them, and I'm just getting a little bit of that vibe from you, Eric. And I'm not saying that you should feel guilty by any means, but as a guy, I can relate to that because I get that way all the time. And for my example is after Christmas to New Year's, like I think it's January 3rd, we're going to be in Florida. But my son is going to California with his mom's family for all through Christmas to January 3rd. So like there was a part of me that felt guilty that we're going to Florida without Michael. And so I was like, maybe we should just wait to do it after Michael gets back from California. And then I'm like, how ridiculous is that? Like, I'm gonna allow myself to miss out on this holiday vacation because of that guilt of Michael not getting to go because he's in San Diego, California. So it was this struggle I went through. Although when I took a second step back, it seemed pretty silly that we wouldn't go because we're waiting for him. But yet I did. I felt guilty in planning that vacation, knowing that he wasn't going to get to go. And so, Tommy, have you gone through any of this kind of a struggle where in those situations?
That's like asking, is the sun going to rise tomorrow? Yes. I mean, 2008 was a rough year. That's when I went through my divorce, and that very first Christmas, I was too embarrassed to face my son that his parents' divorce has just dissolved. And so I hid. I mean, I literally hid. I went and went to visit my mom and bonus dad because I just couldn't face my son that first Christmas. So, yeah, I struggled that first holiday season, not going to deny I went through a lot of bottles of wine by myself that first few months. And so, I mean, you're right, Chris. I mean, as let's just call it what it is. As dads, we struggle with that. We struggle with not being present, for events. I mean, when right now I'm on sort of vacation till the end of the year, and so this is where I get to spend time watching my son practice and play. Other times of the year, it's his mom is taking him, his bonus dad is taking him, and so that hurts that I'm not there again being present. I'm not there to be able to be a dad, but it's a struggle that quite honestly we have to get over, and it takes time. But I want to think unicorns and rainbows, and that is our kids are going to love us no matter what. And my poor wife, she went through a struggle with her oldest daughter that she was afraid she was going to lose her, because her former husband has the hot tub, and they have the RV. They've got all the cool toys that she felt that that's what the girls wanted. That's what the girls wanted to see and hang out. And I kept saying it's not going to happen. And so, in the back of our mind, that's the struggle we have, is that we're going to lose our kids because the other spouse has all the cool stuff and we don't. We can't afford that stuff. But I think as dads, it's natural. It's natural that we're going to have those struggles and go through those dark times. But I think that, like in your case, Eric, yeah, you're up in Alaska and you're not with your kids. However, you're still with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Might not be physically, but you're still there with your kids. So to answer your question, Chris, oh heck yeah, hashtag heck yeah.
I love it.
Mm. And I think that's the interesting thing is like, I remember about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I had this interaction with Wayne Dyer, and I felt he was gonna pass, soon. So I'm glad I felt called to, lean in and make sure that I went to one of his, seminars that I could get to, and I went backstage, and because there was no security guard preventing me from doing it, but there was no invitation to go backstage either.
That's called stalking.
Huh? Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I just happened not to get arrested. So
there you go.
So anyway, I guess what happened at the end of that conversation is basically, he was autographing books for this youth event that he was about to go to, and we had this conversation about the game changer movement. And then his person mover, like the person who was responsible for getting him to the next gig or whatever, was trying to shift, him, quickly through the conversation, and I said I'm sorry, and then he looks me square in the eye and he says, Eric, don't ever apologize for doing what you're called to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's, I made a vow earlier this week even, in recalling that energy, is to live unapologetically, which also means, avoiding that guilt spiral, so, I don't necessarily feel guilty right now. I feel that I'm in a moment of missing my kids, Would I have had them this time of the week anyway? No, but I miss them right now. So, and I feel like in the beginning time of the separation, I did sort of feel guilty for not missing them, and I've pretty much come full circle. Now I just kind of let those pulses, those waves of emotion, come in. and you know, I'm human, and so I feel like, it makes the get-tos more important. It makes every, just kind of to bring it back to the original topic, when I get to be with my kids, like it makes me realize, it helps me realize that those 25 minutes between school and dance, are the moments that create a lifetime, create what the relationship is. And it's not necessarily all the like theatrics of the dance recital, it's or the dance competitions. It's like, how did you show up, that day? How do I tell my kids just transparently that I miss them so much? And how do I push through, like I've always been the dad that cries, we used to watch Undercover Boss together, and they would just have fun because there was like this, emotional transition, and like, then they got to say, oh, this is the time in the show when dad laugh cries, and those are the kinds of, memories that we've created. And so, because I'm so vested into the game changer movement right now, like it's a very interesting path, and in a way, as it's starting to take hold in the world, I'm feeling deeper into my fatherhood because I'm like, oh, cool, like now my kids will actually know what I've been standing for all along, and they will soon see evidence in the world of what my beliefs, um, you know, are manifesting into on this physical plane. And that is a really exciting, transformative time. And I I had no intention, like, when I first saw the topic for today, like I had no idea it was going to go this, into this part of the trench. But that's the magic of this collective, and this time in life. So and I think the whole point is like there's, it's been said that we're going to die with something in our inbox, and that's just got to be okay. So I think it matters. It just matters how we do what we do more than what of the list we get done. So and coming back to being present is really where it's at. So I'm present with a lot of love and gratitude for you guys, and I'm just honestly missing my kids right now. So like that's what's here.
Wow. Thank you, Eric, for being so vulnerable. We don't see that a lot, and so I really appreciate you really opening up and sharing. I didn't mean to pry.
No, and I want you to. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we talked about that too, because it's just a reminder that life is now. Like, there's no such thing as tomorrow. We are living right now. If you want to, are you walking the path of your vision? And if so, awesome. If not, you get a chance to readjust. And that's just that constant reminder that life is now. Don't forget it, right? And so that was a good reminder of that. Thank you.
But I think it brings up a great point, though, Chris, and that is, the people that truly enjoy watching this show, and that's why I really want more people to see the show, is that to see the vulnerability of us dads, that we're not always, I'll be the first to admit, for example, I don't know how to change oil in my car, but at the same time, just like Eric is saying, we miss our kids. We're not, and that's the hardest thing, is that we're not 24/7 with our kids. Some of us still have that old school process of every other weekend, and so it is hard, as a man to admit that your marriage failed. And it's hard at the same time that, when we're on business trips, when we're on trips, and we don't have those opportunities to bring our kids, and we don't have the opportunity to speak to our kids every single day, that we truly miss our kids. And so, again, for the listeners that watch this show, I hope they realize that, in today's case, there's 3 dads here who love our kids, want our kids to have a great life, and so yeah, there are going to be sacrifices, there are going to be business trips, but down the road, as long as our kids can see that we truly care about them, And one more thing, I know you're talking about Dr. Wayne Dyer, Eric. I always remember on one of his PBS talks, and I'm probably screwing up this quote, but he always says, "Don't die with your song still inside you." And so I think a lot of times we do that. We don't, like both you and Chris are saying, I think we don't get on our purposeful driven life. And so there are times where I just get amazed. You're in a fast food place and you see somebody who seems super intelligent, and you go, "Why are you working here?" You just want to grab them, go, "You have a purpose. This is not it." And that's where I hope that our kids find their path, that they find a purposeful, driven life, no matter how busy we are, that we strive as dads to make sure that we help our kids, support our kids to to find their own path, not put them on their path, but help them find their own path.
Yeah, as shepherds, in a way, not. Yeah.
Well, stewards, I mean,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's the other big transition, that I've and you guys have helped me with, is like, we are here to steward the dream inside of our kids, or steward our kids until they find their own dream, or so that they can find their own essence, and I feel like that's I think that, and this is how like my work in the world is informing my work as a dad, is that like I had this vision of the game changer movement, and all of a sudden I realized that my job as kind of curator of the game changer movement is to hold space for the voice of the next generation, and that means shutting up, listening, more than I talk, and how did I learn how to do that? I learned how to do that, like through my own personal evolution, and some of that was in the sales world, where I was taught to actually ask more questions, than give answers. So I'm celebrating the perfectness, of this whole evolution. Even my times, working in food service. So I mean, like, it's just, you triggered something, Tommy, because 20 some odd years ago, when I was taken in by my best friend's folks from a homeless shelter, I stayed in contact with my roommate from the shelter for a while, and his name was Chris, and the day I got into Cornell University, we were on the phone, and he called me, and he was excited. He was jacked, and I was like, "What's going on for you, Chris?" And he's like, "I just got a job in McDonald's." And like, I don't know who was happier in that moment, because I was like, "Yeah, I just got into Cornell," and like we were like, vibing on the same frequency. And then like literally I hung up the phone and started crying, because I was like, that was the moment where I was just like, wow, like no one taught Chris how to dream, And part of my spiritual path says, oh, maybe McDonald's was the perfect place for him, but maybe it wasn't, and so I feel like that's the interesting thing is like, to just, as parents, just want the best for our kids, and I don't know if this is a topic worth diving into, but like, do you ever sometimes learn that you're not the right messenger for the right, for your kids in any given moment? Like, I don't know
Oh
if
yeah,
that's...
I mean, but and it's funny you say that. It's I think there are times where our ego gets in the way too much, and we think that we are the only ones that can give a message. And it was hard for me in my past life as a hockey coach. It's my way or the highway. I'm like, no, no. I quick example was, the past 2 seasons or prior, one of our coach's sons was a better communicator, and he was better at demonstrating how to do something. And that's where you put your ego aside and go, I can't do that. Let's find somebody who can do that. And so I think there's too many times, we think we're busy. We're not really busy. We're just think we're busy. But there are times where we can find others to do something that are better than us. And it's okay. It's okay to say, you know what? I look at, somebody like you, Eric, you're great at sales. And I look at somebody like Chris, who's, very technically savvy. And that's okay. And I think as men, our ego gets in the way too many times to realize I'm not good at something. That's okay. Let me help find somebody who can do it, maybe better than I can.
Yeah, being coachable, being open to asking for help. That's the thing I struggle with more than anything is like, and we actually just kind of talked about this earlier this week with some projects that we're working on here at the Modern Dad Council, and it's a heavy lift. I can't do it by myself, and so it's not going to be because I can't do it. I don't have time. Well, no, not necessarily. I can ask for help, and so we had a meeting, and we all came together, had an awesome meeting, and delegated responsibility. And instead of trying to lift it myself, now it's divided amongst 5 people. Much, much more accessible or doable or whatever when you ask for help and you have other people enrolled in whatever it is that you need help with. Whether it's you need help picking up the kids from practice. Maybe you'd be better to delegate your time doing something else and asking for help in that area so that when you do have time with the kids that you can be more one-on-one focused. I mean, I don't know. I'm just giving an example of.
But that's where again
the applicable situation.
And that's where the ego comes in. As it was really hard for me at first after my former wife got remarried, and to hear that her husband was taking my son to these events, and it was really hard because it's like, no, I'm the dad. That's my job. That's my responsibility. But I'm 1,000 miles away. How the heck am I supposed to do it? Exactly.
Right.
What's that? I love the movie Couples Retreat. Ah, yes, Peacock. Strut your stuff, Mr. Peacock. And that's what you felt like was a peacock that you stick out your chest and go, no, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And I think that again, our ego gets in the way where we're afraid to ask for help. And so much to your point, Chris, that's why I ask for help. That's why I take my car to a place to get my oil changed. So to you.
No, I love it.
and I feel like, that's, I mean, I don't know if we've all read the 4-Hour Work Week, but that Right. I mean, and that book changed my lenses, and so, just and there was this, there was this discussion of outsourcing worry, you know, um, that Tim Ferriss actually, pays someone else, delegates his worry away, and and like, how great would it be, to live a life where we could outsource our worry, and I believe that that's possible when we lean into new thinking, and I think there's, especially around Thanksgiving time, when multitudes of generations get together in the same room, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, when I was your age we did it this way, and like a real man was this, and a real man is different now. We're all real men, and I'm a man who cries. I'm a man who, does a lot of things that other real men don't yet know how to do.
Like eating quiche. I like to eat quiche.
Me too. Like, I mean, and maybe we should rename the Modern Dad Council the Modern Quiche Council, because I think we're evolving to that level, So, I mean, I'm just, I feel like the old definition of what it meant to be a real man or a real dad is someone who could do everything, everything, and everything a man was supposed to do, a man should do, and now we know that shoulding is wrong. Like we're not supposed to sit on ourselves.
Yeah, don't shit all over me.
Right. So, I mean, like, and I really appreciate you guys, because, like, my energy just, like, broke through and lifted. Maybe it was the quiche, and maybe I'm hungry, and maybe I'm excited about the, like, Jarlsberg Swiss cheese in the fridge. I don't know. I just, I'm really, I'm just, back to gratitude. And I think the other thing with this topic is, maybe there is still too much to do. Maybe we need to figure out how to say no to more, so that we could live into our strengths rather than just, moderate our weaknesses, And, I'm really good at that trip to dance, I'm not the best at figuring out, the best food solutions for my kids, And maybe I can feel better about outsourcing some of those things, So, yeah.
I'm sorry, Eric. I have to laugh about that comment about the food source, because I'm with you there, brother. Because so for the past 2 nights that I've picked up my son, after hockey, I'm trying to think. All right, it's by the time from where the rink is, it's about an hour away, and so it's almost, by the time we get home, it's almost 9 o'clock, and I'm trying to think. Well, we should eat something healthy, and we should eat. No, we're both freaking starving. Let's find something to eat. And, like last night, the place where we wanted to go, because we had coupons. As soon as we pulled into the parking lot, are you freaking kidding me? They closed. We were watching them lock the door, and I'm like, no! So we ended up at Qdoba. But, I mean, you're right, Eric. I mean, the other, it's not just food choices. It's, I can't frickin' help my kid do, or any of the kids do homework. I mean, again, like you're saying, with Mr. Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Workweek, free plug, outsourcing. I mean, that's, again, put your ego aside and just find somebody that can do it better. I'm not great at homework. That's what I have other older, smarter kids for.
This might just sound lazy, but that's why I had lawn service done. One of my cousins, I let them mow the grass, and they messed up my mower, so it wouldn't start, and I was getting stressed out about it because I knew there was going to be some work that needed to be put into it, maybe even have to buy a new mower, and my grass was getting kind of long, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to hire somebody to cut the grass till I get this mower thing fixed. And then Samantha, oh, what a blessing she can be in my life. She's like, why don't you just hire him to do the lawn full time and not worry about the lawnmower so that you can focus on all the work that you've got to get done. I was like, I love that, and it sounds to me, I feel lazy knowing that I have a lawn care service, but it's such a relief off of my plate, and so I've outsourced some of that labor that normally, or that I get stressed out about, especially with knowing that my mower's not working, and then I've got to find time to not just mow the lawn, but time to fix the mower in order to get the lawn done. So I don't know. It's been nice having that alleviated. So
Yeah, but it goes kind of to what Eric was saying, though, is that don't be afraid to say no in situations. And so, it's nothing about laziness. It's like exactly what Samantha's saying to you, Chris, is that, your responsibility for our family is to build this business. Mowing the yard is not part of building your business. And so I think it's a great point that Samantha's making, that she recognizes, things that going, hey, I'm sure you have better things to do, like, I don't know, record modern dad council shows.
exactly.
Then going out exactly, and then going out there and mowing the yard. I mean, I don't consider it laziness. It's called business savvy.
Yeah, focused on where my money maker is.
There you go.
I gotta go, guys.
What, you have to go mow your yard?
I'm gonna make some money.
Well, and I think the other thing is figuring out how to to make alignment, and I feel like there's this other book that I think it's called Essentialism, and just the idea of, like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And that's going to be my mantra for 2016, is like, I know you're working on execute, Tommy, but like, I'm working on hell yes, like, and I'm not gonna be lukewarm about anything in 2016. And that's my promise to myself. And I remember that, like, I'm the same guy who ran the New York City Marathon, and how did that marathon happen? It happened not because I woke up one day and said, oh, I think I'm going to go run the New York City Marathon, but it was a series of 1,000 promises I made to myself and kept, and so, like, with knowing that discipline is inside me, and that I was able to do something that I never even thought I would have wanted to do, I now know how possible, what I really want to do is, because inside me is the ability to have that much discipline. And so I don't know how that really relates, but I mean, I feel like, if we can get our busyness, boiled down to the hell yes, which again goes also back to the 4-hour work week. Like, what is your sweet spot? What is your unique, gift that, generates $3,000 an hour, so that you can only work 4 hours in a week and then delegate the rest to other people's sweet spots. So I mean, I think Uber and all these other, services, that can be places that we delegate things, need to become more understood and accepted resources, and not that I would trade in those 25 minutes to dance, but it's also good to know that I could if I needed to, and that I didn't need to do it all if I wasn't needing to be in a specific place at a specific time, and there was something else that I was supposed to do instead, But that being said, show up fully present in those 25 minutes if that's the hell yes for me. So I don't know. I mean, how do you guys decide, what of your to-do list you're going to get done?
Yeah, I can Tommy, do you want to go, or I'll take it, whichever.
I learned from a good friend of mine, um, and she learned this, and I love it. And I need to be a little bit more disciplined on it. Is called the 3 HVAs. So high value assignments. So I just set up 3 things I need to get done per day. Um, do they always get done? No, but I want to. I don't want to overwhelm myself, so I limit to the 3 HVAs per day.
All right. Well, I focus first off. I know there's certain tasks for my work that need to get done, so I set those as the highest priority for my day. So as soon as I sit down at the computer, I knock that stuff out. Once that's done, everything else kind of plays secondary to that. But I try to. I mean, I have meetings all the time that get filled, so then any time in between that, I try to be open to getting something small accomplished on my list next. But I like to knock those big rocks out, or like eat. I guess they say eat the frog.
Eat the frog, yeah. Brian Tracy.
Yeah, that's what I try to do, is just knock out that big stuff, the things I know I have to get done, the things that kind of pay the bills. And then beyond that, see, I'm horrible at this though, but this is what I try to do. That's a confession, okay? No,
This is beautiful vulnerability. Go with it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm horrible at it because but it's a practice at the same time. So I noticed a couple of weeks ago, the kids are here, I'm on the computer, I'm working, I'm working 13, 14-hour days, not getting anything done. And my kids are here, and I'm like, I can't even pay attention to you guys. I'm sorry. I've got to focus on work. But I sit there and I'm like looking at all the stuff I'm doing for work. And I'm like, wow, what of this is necessary? Like, what if I took a step back, analyzed everything I was doing? Do I think that I could be more time effective in the way I was managing things? It was like, oh yeah, make a tweak here, made a tweak there, combine a couple of things. And it's like, boom, I just freed up half my day by refocusing. I was doing a lot of wheel spinning on things. It's like brainstorm all this stuff, create these templates and stuff like that, and then get them out there, and then it's like, hey guys, I got this done, and then it just sits there, never gets used, and then the next couple weeks later, I'm creating another one, putting that out there, never gets used. Like, why am I wasting all this time and energy on that? Obviously, it's not working. So that was one of the big shifts for me, was just like really focusing on wasted time. So shifting that, getting focused on my big rocks, the have-tos of my get-to day, the have-tos, like there are certain things that just have to get done, period. Regardless of how long they take, whatever it is, I get that done today.
And I think that's, I feel like the new time management is actually energy management. So I mean, I think what I'm summarizing from this conversation is the first part of the process is to reframe it. Turn your day, no matter what the day is supposed to have, turn it from a have-to to a get-to day. So that does a lot of the heavy lifting for the energy of what we're about to go into, and then then we get to prioritize and say, of my get-to day, what is the deepest sense of urgency, in the now world that is our only world to live in. And then once it's once we've identified what the priorities are, can we joyfully go into it and be fully present in it, knowing that this is the immersion right now. Like, this boulder is my get to present joyful boulder, and like, that sounds way better than even eating a frog, and I mean, like, that was one of the first books that I read on my, kind of transformation. I don't know, eat that frog. And then, ironically, meeting Brian Tracy at the National Speakers Association, I was just like, I wonder if he even eats that frog. It's just like, were those just words that made sense to me, or does this dude like live by those words? And so anyway, I mean, but and then the 4-hour work week, it tells us, if we can't measure it, then we probably shouldn't do it,
Yeah.
And all these different things. So I mean, there's just so many awesome resources that can determine, I mean, I guess if you back it down, there isn't too much to do, in a way, if we're diligent about deciding what the amazingness of our get to life is here to be. So thank you for like the roller coaster, like, I was in the deep depths of like, holy crap, where, what am I doing? And somehow, through being with each other, I'm now primed and ready for the next hour of my life.
Present, ready to go. I love that. That is cool. Thank you for being so vulnerable and open with your emotions here today, Eric. That's really, I really appreciate that. So, and it's not common. You know what I mean? It's not an everyday thing. So to have you show up like that is just really powerful. So, thank you. And with that, I'm going to wrap up because it's coming up to that hour mark. Thank you guys for coming on. Tommy, blending the family. Thank you, Eric, the Game Changer movement. And this is the Modern Day Council. Stay tuned next week for some other fun stuff.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving if you listen to this before Thanksgiving.